Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday Night Club, the LFC Transfer Room Saturday night edition of the stream. And it's the match preview. We've got lots and lots to talk about. I am honoured today to be joined by Drew. And Drew, I think this is perhaps, if not the first stream, one of the first streams that you and I have been on for quite a while. And we talk quite a lot, actually, because we are avid novel fans and fiction fans, especially with Stephen King. So you and I talk actually quite a lot. So thank you so much for joining us. And you're on vacation, is that right?
That's right. So a lot of time for reading myself, but I get the entertainment today from watching Newcastle beat Arsenal. And viewers who know me will probably know that I'm a big anti-Arsenal fan. So I was happy to watch that score, but more excited to see us play tomorrow and see if we can leapfrog Arsenal in the table.
Yeah, I think that was really key actually today. Not just because Arsenal lose, and then obviously I think there's now actually only Tottenham Hotspur who are the only club who's not lost in the Premier League, because Arsenal obviously lost that record today, and I think that's massively important for us to build that momentum moving forwards. Neil, how are you? Everything okay? And nice to see you again on a Saturday night stream.
Yeah, all good, thank you. Just watched the game. There wasn't much. It was a bit of a nothing game, to be honest. But I guess other than a draw, it was probably the best result for us, because it means, as we said, that we can leapfrog Arsenal. And I think I want to get into, with these next two games that we've got, I just want to make sure that we get in the best possible position before we play City. So I don't think it's a bad result for us.
No, neither. I still do think Newcastle will drop off at some point as well. As much as I do like them, or did like them before the takeover, I think they are a very, very good team, and I do like Eddie Howe. I do rate some of their players. I think they're a very good side. Thanks to everybody who is in the chat as well. Hello to Jen, hello to Lee, hello to Jay. Please do make sure that, as always, if you are listening and watching us on your Saturday night, firstly, thank you so much. But please do like and subscribe to the channel, because it all comes back to you. Okay, so I suppose the first things first is the match tomorrow. And I think if we start from the back, moving forwards, Alisson in goal, the best in the world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I generally don't, even though the Ballon d'Or and the Yashir trophy didn't reflect that, but hey-ho. At the back, who do you play in that back four, Drew? With a team like Luton, who do struggle to score goals, do you risk a Konate? Do you play a Matip? Do you play a Joe Gomez? I've transferred Tsimikas into my FPL team this week, so I'm fully expecting him to be dropped. But what are you expecting, Drew?
Yeah, I'm expecting pretty much the strong lineup, seeing as we kind of played an easy midweek game. Trent to start. Center backs probably Van Dijk and Konate, and then Tsimikas at left back, even though he played in the midweek game. I think it's at this point, I think Klopp should really be trying to find out his best starting 11, especially with the Luton side. You can afford to be more attack minded. So I'd probably see more attack minded players in this game. Not foreseeing too many hiccups, but you still need to take the game seriously.
Yeah, we've seen it over the past years where Liverpool haven't, perhaps, I wouldn't say dedicated the best teams to the lower ranking clubs on the table, but at the same time, I don't think it's one that we can take our foot off the gas. I think actually with Man City upon the horizon, it's one that we could certainly build momentum with. People are asking about Kev in the chat. Normally he's on the Saturday Night Club. He's just taking a little bit of time out for personal reasons, but I can assure you all he will be back firing soon. And Kev TV will be back, and I cannot wait to see him back as well, hopefully in a couple of weeks. All right, but I do wish him well, my podcast brother. Neil, what do we think then? Tsimikas as left back, is there any reason, because you actually said earlier and put the shivers down my spine, that Gomez could potentially start on that left-hand side too?
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think it will be Tsimikas that will start. I think my point about Gomez was I think he performed quite well again in midweek at right back. If we were going to Man City away tomorrow, I'd probably feel more comfortable with Joe Gomez at left back than I would Tsimikas. But based on the way I think Luton will set up, I think it makes sense for Tsimikas to play. I guess they're going to sit back and they're going to be difficult to break down. And because of that, I'd probably switch the centre halves around. I'd probably play Matip because I think his ball carrying abilities could be useful tomorrow. So I'd probably, it's a flip of a coin because Matip's play well, Kanate's playing well. So, but I'd go for Matip just for his ability to bring the ball out and carry the ball forwards. So yeah, that's what I do. I think one of the big things this year we say about we haven't always given the lower teams the best of our focus. I think that's part of the reason for that is because we've been in the Champions League every year, and we're having to play our strongest players. You get the core of your strongest players playing in the Premier League, and then you have to play them again in the Champions League. I think having a year out and playing Europa League games has given us much more opportunity to rotate, and the squad rotations work beautifully so far. And I think that means the likes of tomorrow, where we're sort of making 5 or 6 changes from our strongest lineup, we'll actually be going with what will be our strongest lineup. So I think that's been a big difference this year.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. I honestly think that if we play Manchester City tomorrow with Haaland, let's say he's not injured, I think that Gomez starts there because I think that Gomez could, and Van Dijk and Konate can bully a Haaland. And as silly as that sounds, because he's probably the greatest striker on the planet, but I think those 3 can keep Haaland, under wraps. But I think tomorrow, Tsimikas is a lot more creative. And I really like your point about Matip. I think that's a really good point, bringing it out of defence where they might be playing a low block. We've seen Matip, on the edge of their D at times, picking out passes. And I think that's a really good shout, actually. And rest Konate, because, Drew, we've got a massive, massive game. And again, I'm not going to steal away from the Wednesday night preview, but we've got a massive game against Toulouse. So is this actually an opportunity for that back 4 to rotate in? And is it an opportunity for Klopp to say, okay, Konate is not the most bulletproof player. He's not made of Teflon. Is this a really good opportunity actually to give him 60 minutes on the bench and play Joel Matip or even rest Van Dijk?
I honestly think the game tomorrow is more important than Toulouse game because we do have some wiggle room. Like especially after how Toulouse played at Anfield, it just seemed like we walked that game, and it's not often that we do walk games. Even though we can score a lot, we tend to make matches more difficult or give ourselves the fans heart attacks more often than not. So it's nice to see us walk more games lately, but the Bournemouth 2-1 seems to be more what we're used to. But Toulouse doesn't look like they offer that kind of threat. And if they did do that, if they somehow upset us, we have that wiggle room in the Europa League, whereas in the Premier League, you do not want to be dropping points against Luton. You do not want to have those kind of slip ups like last year when we would, beat Man U 7-0 and then drop points the next week. That kind of form is not excusable at this point for this season in the Premier League. And that's where, I like the Matip shout for his abilities as a ball carrying in the midfield. I love that side of his game. I'm curious, though, with Klopp playing him in the midweek game against Bournemouth, if that means that he won't be starting this weekend, because I'm not sure how many minutes he can put in, if he can play 3 matches a week or that kind of levels. Whereas I wouldn't want to risk him at this point because I think that he could play against Toulouse on Wednesday, or I wouldn't want to put stress on his body at his age and with his injury problems. So I think this one is a game that you really want to put in the bag with your strongest players, seeing as we can go a bit lighter on Toulouse, seeing how they played against us last time, and that we have wiggle room in the Europa League.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive game that is for the Europa League, because as we've all said previously, if we finish top, then we missed that first round of the knockout stage where obviously the Champions League teams drop into. So that would be absolutely phenomenal if we can miss that out, because as much as I'd love Man United to, be knocked out by us in the competition, they'll probably knock themselves out in that round, and we're just sitting at home with our feet up. Jen, thank you so much for your super sticker. Big up, guys. Keep up all of your hard work and simply the best. And as are you, Jen, you do keep this channel going sometimes single-handedly. So thank you very, 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 very much. Let's, I tell you what, let's get on to our first quiz round. Drew has not been involved in the quiz before. and some of you at home may not have as well. So the quiz is very simple. There's 3 rounds. You get 3 points for a win. Normally we do 2 points for coming second, but since it's only first and second place, I'm still going to honour that actually because it makes it a little bit more interesting. And then you get 0 points, obviously, for coming last because you should. If you come last, you should get 0 points. Okay, so I think actually, Vase of Flowers, as much as I love you, I think I might have accidentally removed you the last time we played the quiz by not meaning to. I think I might have accidentally removed you. But these are the rules. Everybody else in the chat, please do not press enter because Neil and Drew will definitely steal your ideas. And I don't want that to happen. Okay. So nobody else press enter in the chat. You are all welcome to play at home. Please do type into the chat what your answers are as well. But at the same time, don't press enter until that time is up. All right. So I do apologize. I did just mean to mute you the last time and I ended up booting you. So I didn't really mean to do that. So it is about Liverpool and it is about Luton because it is the match preview show. So the first lot of quiz questions are as followed. So Neil, Drew, get your pen and paper ready or get ready to type it anywhere. But everyone else in the chat as well, let's make sure that we are participating. The last time Liverpool played Luton at Anfield was on Tuesday, the 15th of January in 2008. And it was a third round replay because at Kenilworth Road, Liverpool and Luton ended up in a 1-1 draw in 2008. Liverpool ended up winning that match 5-0. Okay, so they ended up winning that 5-0. What I need from the guys and what I need from any of you all at home, all right, is, let's say, the starting 11 plus the 5 subs, okay? So I'm looking for the 16 players who were involved in the squad against Luton in 2008. And it's a really difficult one, okay? So I'm going to give you the standard time, I would say, of 90 seconds. And I'll time it now. Let me just get my phone out. So everyone else as well listening at home, please do not press enter, but you please do join along. I'm going to give 90 seconds. In fact, look, Neil, from last week, I've apparently not stopped my stopwatch from the last time we played. So I'm on a pretty good time there. So let's reset that. Okay, 90 seconds. And I'm looking for the starting 11 plus the 5 subs. So 16 in the squad in total. Who was involved in the 2008 FA Cup replay against Luton Town at Anfield? Okay, any time starts now. There it is over there. Look. Okay. Jay, I completely agree with you. Kev would be the only one to remember that match lol. But as always, I will bring up Neil's age as well. He probably was also definitely there too. And maybe in his like 40s in 2008, probably. He's concentrating, so he can't answer back. So yeah, absolutely. Jen, you can't press enter. Listen, no matter how much you keep this channel going, you cannot press enter. That's not allowed because now everyone knows that Steven Gerrard was in that squad in 2008, and actually he was in that 2008 squad, and he scored a hat trick as well. Okay, so he was a goal scorer in there too. Okay, so we've now got around about 40 seconds left. Okay, so the 16 players who were involved in 2008 against Luton in the 5-0 victory, who were they? Okay, got about 20 seconds left. It's a really difficult question. I looked earlier and I think I probably got about 7 because they really rotated. I don't know how we drew the first leg 1-1, but we did. But then we smashed them at Anfield 5-0, which I think might be the scoreline tomorrow. Right, there we go. Your time is up. So what we do now is I'm going to ask Drew, how many players have you got? Not how many do you think you've got correct, but just how many players have you got? And then I'm going to ask Neil the same question. And then depending on how many players you've got, you can go first. Okay, so Drew, how many players have you got out of the 16?
I got 14 names down.
14 names down. That's quite good. Yeah, nice one, Neil.
I've got 16 names down, but I don't know whether.
Okay, right. So what we'll do is we'll start with Neil because he has the most names down. If I say yes, obviously give yourself a tick. Give yourself a tick at home. Drew, you give yourself a tick as well. Okay, so Neil, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm going to leave the goalkeeper because that's where I'm not sure. So Alvaro Arbeloa,
Correct.
Sami Hyypiä,
Correct.
Jamie Carragher,
Correct. Captain for the night.
John Arnorisa,
Correct. That was the back four.
Fabio Aurelio,
No, Arnorisa played left back.
Steven Gerrard,
Yep.
Xabi Alonso,
Yep.
Jermaine Pennant,
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's played on the right wing.
Harry Kewell,
He was amongst the substitutes. Yep.
Dirk Kuyt.
Hang on, Fabio Aurelio was on the bench. Sorry. So
Okay.
yes, you can have a tick for that. Yeah, you can. Dirk Kuyt was on the bench.
Peter Crouch,
Yep, started up top
Torres,
with Fernando Torres.
I said Crouch. So Lucas.
Yeah, he was on the bench. Lucas Lavea.
So how many's that? 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. So then I'm on to 2 keepers. Pepe Reina.
No, I think he was rested. Must have been.
Charles Itangi.
Yeah, he was the starting goalie. So you actually got the starting 11 apart from one. Neil, how many of those did you get?
Me. So
Yeah.
I think 14.
14. Okay. Drew, how many have you got so far? And do you have any that Neil has not mentioned?
I got 6, and I got a few that I threw out there. I had Ben Ayoun.
No Yossi.
Was he there yet? Yeah. Mascherano.
No Mashk.
Agger.
No.
Voronin.
No, but I do love that shout of Andre Voronin. No.
Okay. And I remember the youngster Plessy. I don't know if that was too
Oh,
late
what
for
a
him to be
shout
over.
that is, but it's not right. But I think you could be
Okay.
awarded half a point just for that. But no, Charles Atangi, Sami Hyypiä, who also scored actually that night from a Steven Gerrard assist. John Arnorisa, Arbeloa, Carragher, Gerrard, Alonso, Pennant, Torres, and Crouch. The one that you all missed out was actually our Dutchman who scored on the 45th minute, assisted by Fernando Torres, which was Ryan Babel. And then we had on the bench Fabio Aurelio, Harry Kewell, Lucas Lavea, Dirk Kuyt, and David Martin was our sub goalkeeper. Okay, so yeah, they were our substitutes as well. All right, so Neil takes the 3 points and Drew takes the 2. Good round that was. Babel, Gerrard, Hyypiä, Gerrard, and Gerrard. Okay, so yeah, absolutely battered them at Anfield on Tuesday, the 15th of January in 2008. 5-0. I'll take that tomorrow. Like, I'll just take 5-0 tomorrow. Drew, let's talk about this midfield for Liverpool. Do you think, because it is a conversation that we've had in the past, do you think as good as Endo is and as impressed as I am that I have been, in recent games, is this a game for Endo or is this a game for Mac to play as the 6, but actually more as a progressive 6 rather than a sitting 6 and perhaps attack that low block that we assume Luton might play? So who's your midfield 3 and why?
I still think it's Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai because I think that might be the best midfield going forward at this stage. So I think, again, back to what I was saying about trying your best lineup in all kinds of games when possible. I think that's our strongest midfield at the moment. Well, I think Endo could very much step forward and do a job. I really think we should be putting up our best 3. Jones, apparently, I think Heiler said that Jones was not in training, so I think he'd be the other one that could be in contention for the midfield. But I think Endo starts again against Toulouse in next midweek. But I really think we can afford to put in that many attacking players, and then with Gravenberch in there as well, McAllister doesn't always have to be in that six. They can kind of switch. Trent can come into the six. So I really think this is a game where we can see that optimal midfield three and see if it works, and be able to afford trying a few different things like pushing Trent into the six more and seeing how that works out.
I think it's a prime opportunity actually to put Trent into that six and maybe let McAllister push further up when we're in possession, actually, because as great as McAllister's been, Neil, it's not his natural position, and it's something that is discussed within Liverpool fans. It's something that we discuss obviously on a daily basis as well. But Liverpool are actually vying to become the first club to score a Premier League goal at all 61 stadiums used in the division. So with that in mind, if Liverpool do score tomorrow, which I don't want to jinx it, but they probably will, that's massive. You know, that's better than United, that's better than Arsenal, and that's probably it in the Premier League eras. I can't count Man City because they only became a club really in the 2000s. Would you agree with Neil's with Drew's assessment in terms of that midfield? And do you think that actually McAllister, as you know, Vasa Flowers says, I want Mac in the 8. Do you think that that midfield without Endo perhaps beats the low block better?
It probably does. And I actually thought McAllister against Forest last week had his best game in the six. I thought that the worries and concerns from before, where he was getting caught in possession, didn't seem to happen last week, and he kept winning the ball back as well. I'd like to see him in the 8 because actually when he came on against Bournemouth in midweek, you could really see some craft and guile in and around the box, and you're thinking, what are we kind of missing out on by having him further back? So I think he will go, because of the opponent, I think he will go McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch. I'd like to see Endo play, and I'd like to see McAllister push forward on the left-hand side, to be honest. So if it was me picking the team, I'd probably have Endo in there with McAllister and Szoboszlai, but I think he'll stick with the team that played last Sunday. Even though I thought Gravenberch, as good as he's been since he's joined, I thought he was really, really quiet against Forest, to be honest. So I think he'll go with that, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say that about Gravenberch, actually. Maybe it's time that he just has a little bit of a chill out and a bit of a reassess. So I'm not saying that it was bad by any means, but at the same time, sometimes it's good not to just whack them all into the fray at once. I mean, you know, there is a shout that Szoboszlai could also be rested, and you go with Endo, Mac and Gravenberch. But listen, compared to excuse me, compared to last season, we've actually got options for once. Like, that's amazing in that midfield. Like, it's so refreshing to have those legs in that midfield. So, you know, it is a refreshing place to be in. Let's go on then. Before we discuss the attackers and before we discuss Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez, etc., let's go on to our second round of the quiz. So, get your pens, get your paper ready, get your fingers on the keyboards, and let's get going. This is a little bit more difficult, actually, if I'm completely honest. This is one that's going to test the oldies. So, Drew, I don't know whether I'm helping Neil out here, but I think you'll be okay. What I'm looking for are the top 12 players who have the most appearances for Liverpool against Luton. Okay, so you're going to have to go back a while. Because obviously Luton's not been in the division since 1992. So players who have played for Liverpool against Luton Town. I'm looking for the top 12. And you are maybe thinking about 15 to 20 years ago, I would say, for the most common names. Okay, I'm going to give everybody 1 minute. Please do not put the answers into the chat. But what I'm looking for, starting now, is the top 12 players who have played for Liverpool against Luton Town. Okay, so the most appearances. Put it this way, we've not played Luton quite often. The most appearances by a Liverpool player against Luton is 21. Okay, and the least in that top 12 is 8. So your range is 8 up to 21. Okay, and there is the top goal scorer against Luton in there as well. All right, so maybe giving you a little bit of a hint. So for everyone else at home, listening in, you got 20 seconds left. For the top 12 players who have played for Liverpool against Luton with a range of 8 appearances up to 21. The top goal scorer has 9 goals in 15 appearances. It will come to no surprise as to who that is. Okay, and that is your time up. I'm actually giving you an extra 6 seconds there because I was quite generous. So, Drew, how many have you got?
My mind went blank, and I should be better than this, but I only have 3.
Okay, to be fair, it is really difficult. It is pretty hard. Neil?
I've got 12, but I've targeted one particular era, and I've just rolled off the names from that team.
Okay, I'm going to flip things around. I'm going to go Drew first. What 3 have you got? Neil, if you've got them, obviously give them a tick and then add any that you have. Everyone else at home now, feel free to press enter as well. It's quite a difficult one, actually, that one, because Liverpool don't play Luton that often. So, Drew, give us your 3.
Ian Rush, John Barnes,
Correct.
and Kenny Dalglish.
Well done. 3 out of 3. Perfect.
Should have done
Well
better. I know those teams, but I'm on travel lag, jet lag. I'm blaming that for the mine part.
No, really good. And Rushy is the one who's obviously got the 9 goals in 15 appearances. John Barnes and Kenny Dalglish both played against Luton 8 times. Kenny scoring 2 and Barnesy scoring 1. Neil, add to it.
Bruce Grobler.
He is the one with the most appearances, 21.
Alan Hansen.
15, yep.
Ronnie Whelan.
19, yep.
Steve Nicol.
15.
Jan Molby.
12.
Mark Lawrenson.
11.
Graham Souness.
No, not on there.
Phil Neal.
Nope.
Peter Beardsley.
Nope.
All right.
Okay,
Alan
so
Kennedy.
no. But you take the points, but I'll run through it. So Grobler, Whelan, Hansen, Nicol, Rush, Molby, Gary Gillespie, Craig Johnston, Mark Lawrenson, Steve McMahon, Barnesy, and King Kenny. Okay, so they're the top 12, and I had to go to top 12 because obviously Barnes and Dalglish were both tied on 8, so I went down to 12. But well done, Neil, and well done for everyone else as well for playing along too. It's a little bit of it's not a given, I don't think, tomorrow. I think that it's obviously it's quite fitting that Luton haven't lost by many more than 1 goals. And actually, if you're looking at Liverpool's defence, Liverpool have failed to keep a clean sheet in their previous 6 top flight away fixtures, conceding a total of 11 games, which brings me on to our next topic of the attack, because we know that Liverpool's attack can outscore any attack in this country and indeed the world as well. Let's talk about Diogo Jota. He has not ended on the losing side of any of the 40 Premier League matches he has scored in. He's won 33 and drawn 7, of which he scored in. A record bettered only by Gabriel Jesus, which I didn't know about. He's got 57 goals without losing. James Milner, our very own James Milner, with 54, and Darius Vassell with 46. If Luis Diaz does not start tomorrow, Drew, do you think that slot should rightly go to Diogo Jota, or do you think that Gakpo perhaps comes in and plays off that left flank?
I'm torn with this one because I'm a big Jota fan, and I think he always gets a goal, which is his job, and he always does his job. So it's hard for me to overlook him, but I really like Gakpo at that, false 9 kind of position. And I'm wondering Nunez, especially the goal he scored against Bournemouth, coming off the left with the pace. I think that could be a really exciting option to attack Newcastle or to attack Luton with. Versus Jota, I think is a little bit more static. He drives at the defense well, but I think he's a bit more isolated at times. So I really think Gakpo dropping in and maybe feeding Nunez coming in on the wing and Salah on the other wing could be a really potent attacking three.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because if Luton are going to deploy low block, I'm not saying they are, but if they are going to put men behind the ball, I think Gakpo coming in, dropping in deep from that false line could definitely create that space where Nunez and Salah come into. And Nunez has been involved in 7 goals in his last 7 league appearances as well, scoring 4 and setting up 3. So I think with Nunez at the moment, in terms of confidence, he's absolutely soaring. We saw obviously in midweek, his touch took him out to the left-hand side, didn't it, Neil? And then he cut inside and then he scored that absolutely brilliant curling shot. So perhaps actually Nunez on the left, which I always think he should be through the middle, but maybe against the Luton, who might be putting men behind the ball, who might be limiting that space. And then Cody's intelligence, as what Drew was saying, his intelligence and, understanding of how you draw that space so that other players can run into it. And you've got Szoboszlai as well on that right-hand side. Is Nunez on the left, Jota on the left, or do you think Diaz, with everything that's going on tragically with him, is he set to start because we know he's back in training?
I think he'll probably start on the bench. No real reason for thinking that. It's obviously a terrible situation it's been for him and continues to be. So a lot of it, I think, will be down to how he feels, and Klopp might take that decision out of his hands and say, look, I'm going to start you from the bench and use you as an impact player. Nunez, for me, I said it last week, he looks like he's going to catch fire, and I think if he is, he's going to do it as a number 9, and he's having an impact on every game playing as a number 9. So for me, it'll be Salah on the right, it'll be Nunez on the left. Whoever you play on the left, and I'd probably go with Jota for tomorrow, because I think he's got this habit again at the moment that he's not contributing much to games, but then he popped up with a goal. He's got that lovely kind of habit of doing that. But there's nothing to say that if things aren't working, that if Jota started from the left and Nunez was in the middle, that they couldn't interchange during the game. And there's various ways of mixing it up. But I really feel that Nunez's game has come on so much since the 2nd or 3rd week of the season that we really need to embrace that now and back him as the number 9, which might mean that Gakpo has to revert to where he started for us, which was left side. But tomorrow I would go with Salah, Nunez and Jota, because I think Jota is when he gets in the box and he gets a chance, he tends to take it.
Yeah, I think Jota is very underrated. I think in world football, not just by our fan base, actually, because he sniffs out goals and his finishing is absolutely phenomenal. I genuinely think that he's probably the best finisher at the club. There could be a Mo Salah shout in there too, but I think shots to goals ratio, I think Jota might actually lead it, especially with his head and right foot. He's absolutely phenomenal. Listen, it's absolutely tragic and it's absolutely awful what's happened with Luis Diaz. I wish nothing but his family the absolute best. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to go through. But at the same time, I think that playing football is also one of the best cures for him. And I'd love to see Diaz actually come in and do really well tomorrow, which limits, I suppose, Luton's tactics a little bit, because if they are looking maybe, and again, I don't want to undermine Luton because they are a good footballing team in terms of, what they do. They are very, very well organised. I think, though, our depth now from the bench, Drew, is something that we can be quite excited about. The one name that keeps on being linked is Andrade, who's actually playing, always 11 minutes in to the Fluminense game. And Drew, is this a player who you're familiar with, Andre? And is he a player that you could see at Liverpool come January?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the highlight videos on YouTube since we've been linked with them over the summer and since. He obviously has a lot to offer. Tenacity, kind of ball playing abilities are really exceptional. Passing, I'd still think I'd want a more traditional number six, but I'm curious, like on the market, um, who's available, who you could get in, if that's really what Klopp wants, because it might not be the case. That being said, it'd be nice to have more options going into the tail end of the season. And, I don't know if he'd come right in and bed into the team or if he'd, just play games here or there and add, an extra rotation player till he gets his feet when we come into the thick of it with probably a lot of competitions that we'll still be in. So exciting player. I'm excited to see the result of the Fluminense. Was it Boca? Boca. They're playing Boca. I'm excited to see that. Turn that on after this or catch the highlights later. But it seems like an exciting player, a young player, Brazilian. He'll have players to support him if he does move to Liverpool. But I'm honestly happy with what we have now. I'd prefer number six, but I wouldn't say no.
I think the issue with the number six is there doesn't seem too many about. It's actually a position where, where you're looking for central strikers a couple of years ago, and we obviously brought in DARWIN NUNEZ, there wasn't actually that many central strikers that you could bring in, and there seemed to be a bit of a gap in the market, and it seems like there's a gap in the market for a defensive midfield player too, Neil. So I suppose if Andre comes in, is that a good thing? Does it limit our time that we could give to Bajcetic? Does it limit our time that we give to Jones or to Elliott or to Szoboszlai, to McAllister or to Thiago, who might ever come back at some point? Who knows? Do we have too many players playing in that position, or is there anyone else who you think we could bring in instead?
No, I don't think we'll have too many, because I think probably Thiago will leave at the end of his contract. So I think it would be good to bring someone in and be proactive with our recruitment, give them a few months from January to bed in. Andre looks very good. He looks a very exciting player. He's got a lot of craft and a lot of guile about him, and he would need time to adjust, which is why I'd be in favour, if it is going to be him, that we do bring him in January. I think we may be moving away, and it may just be because of the personnel that we've got, from a destructive type defensive midfield player to someone who's a bit more of a controller and a creator, which is maybe why they're looking, or rumoured to be looking, at Andre. Now, if we would, so for me, he seemed like a good signing, but it would need to be in January to give him a few months to adapt and get ready for next season. If you're looking for a Fabinho type, probably at the moment, João Paulinho of Fulham is the nearest that you'll get to him. Every time I've watched him this season, I saw him against Spurs, I saw him against Manchester United today, and yes, he was at fault for the goal, but he is a destructive midfielder that if you put him in the midfield with two really, really creative players, I think it would be awesome. But the fact is, I think he's 28 and he's going to cost a hefty fee, so I think it's unlikely. But I think if you didn't have to consider age or price tag, if you put him into that midfield now, I think he'd be outstanding.
Yeah, and we know the issues that were rumoured to have with Klopp trying to convince FSG to pay for Endo for a small fee. So who knows what would happen with João Paulinho. I think he is a great player. Again, it is just, does it fit that Liverpool philosophy at the moment? I did think he was the best player actually on the pitch today. I thought he was phenomenal, apart from Harry Maguire, who I also thought was really surprisingly very, very good, and he's had a great run of games. Anyway, I'm not going to talk anything positive about Manchester United because they suck. So we'll go on to our last round of the quiz. So Neil has 6 points, Drew has 4 points, and this is all up for grabs, I suppose, because I'm going to say, to make it interesting, that second place gets 0 points. So it's either Drew or Neil who's going to win. And that's the benefit of being Quizmaster. You just make up the rules as you go along. It's fantastic. Right, talking about Liverpool's attack. I need to count. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 players who have scored a goal for Liverpool in the Europa League, Premier League, or EFL Cup. 30 seconds. I need to know who are those 9 players. Okay. 30 seconds starts now. Dead easy. 9 players have scored a goal in either the Europa League, the Premier League, or EFL Cup for Liverpool this season. I need to know who they are. Okay. And everybody else as well. Some of the answers are pretty obvious, but some of them might not be. So don't put anything into the chat until this 30 seconds are up. And I've done 30 seconds because I don't want to give too much time. Okay. So we're halfway through. We're looking for the 9 players, according to BBC Sport, who have scored 1 goal this season in the EFL Cup, Europa League, or Premier League for Liverpool. And your time's up. Right, Drew, how many have you got?
9.
9, okay, perfect. Neil, how many have you got?
9.
Perfect. Right, Drew, we're going to go with you first then, dude.
Okay, Gakpo.
Yep.
Virgil van Dijk.
He's not scored. According to BBC, has he scored? According to BBC, he's not.
Okay. Jota.
Yep.
Gravenberch.
Yep.
Nunez.
Yeah.
Szoboszlai.
Yep.
Salah.
Mm-hmm.
Endo.
Yeah.
Matip.
Nope.
And Robertson was my last one.
Robertson gets it as well. So I think you got 7. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I had 10 then.
Someone check that Virgil shout, actually. I can't remember Virgil scoring, though. I don't think this season. Neil.
Where he did.
So
have a look. Yeah, go on.
I've got the 5 forwards.
So Salah, Nunez, Jota, Gakpo,
Diaz.
Diaz was one that Drew missed out. Yeah. Diaz.
And then I've got from midfield Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Endo, and then Robertson.
Yeah, they are the 9. Yeah, they're the 9 that I've got on BBC Sport. I can't recall scoring, but that's not to say that the website is incorrect. But Drew, do feel free to put those in as well. But yeah, Diaz has scored 3. Top goal scorer, obviously Salah, 10 goals and 4 assists. Then coming in second place is Darwin Nunez with 7 goals and 4 assists. Jota has 6 goals after him as well. So we're talking about Diogo Jota compared with the minutes per game. Actually, his ratio of goals per game is absolutely phenomenal. Minutes per goal for Liverpool, probably no surprise, Darwin Nunez, 96 minutes per goal. Okay, so every 96 minutes that Darwin Nunez plays, he notches, but that's not including his assists as well. Him and Salah are tied on 14 goals and assists. So yeah, there we go. Okay, lads, predictions then for tomorrow. Drew, what are we saying?
3-0.
3-0. We're going to go for goal scorer. Just need 1.
Salah.
Nice. Tidy. Neil?
I think it's going to be a tricky game. I think the crowd are going to be right on top in what is a really, really tight stadium. I think it's important that we start well. And if we do, then I think we'll win 2-0. 2-0.
Okay, good. That's a clean sheet is always good. I'm going to go 4-0 though. And I said it last week, McAllister is due a goal. So I'm going to go with the Mac as well. 4-0 and McAllister. Any final words, lads, before we sign off and we can go and watch Andre rip up the Copa de la Libertadores?
No, just looking forward to tomorrow's game. I think with Arsenal dropping points, there's a good chance for us to leapfrog them. And then hopefully, and I don't like to say hopefully when it's Chelsea, but they'll get something at Spurs on Monday. And I want I want us to really put pressure on with the game, this game against Luton and the home match against Brentford, to put maximum pressure on City going into the game after the international break.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
all said because we started the season well, didn't we? We got 17 points from 8 games, and they were a tough set of fixtures. And we said now these next 4 are where we really need to be looking to pick up maximum points. So at the moment, we've got 6 out of 6. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be 9 out of 9, and all focus can go into Toulouse and then Brentford next week.
Yeah, I think Brentford next week. I'm at the game, by the way, Neil. So if you're about, I know that you had that ticket thingy, but if you're about, with the Anfield Road upper,
that's where I was meant to be. All the tickets got cancelled.
Yeah.
So all of mine up until Christmas have been cancelled. Everton, Man United, and Arsenal games. So all good games as well.
Shambolic, mate. That is shambolic. I was going to say, if not, we'll meet for a beer because I'm obviously
there
absolutely
next week.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be in touch. But yeah, Drew, predictions and do you think that, I suppose, it's massive Brentford, who did beat West Ham today, an all right West Ham team, especially travelling away from home too. Do you think that Luton poses any threat? Do you think that Luton could provide a little bit of a hiccup or a banana skin along the way? Or do you think that, agree with Neil, that we should be looking really from the past 2 games, we've got 6 out of 6. The next 2, we should be getting 12 out of 12.
Yeah.
We should definitely be looking at 9 out of 9 points, at least from tomorrow, and hopefully 12 out of 12 against Brentford. But, Luton at home, I'm sure their stadium's going to be bouncing, and it'll be a bit of pressure on that regards. But they still haven't done too much. 7 goals? They've only scored 7 goals, I think, so far in the Premier League. So I don't know if they'll offer enough going forward. And we know that we can score goals. So I think that ultimate equation just sits in our favor, that they won't be able to create that many chances, and we'll probably create too many for them to keep out. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the story of the game tomorrow.
Listen, if we don't come away from with a win, no matter how the game plays out, it's going to be a massive travesty, isn't it? Listen, lads, Drew, Neil, thank you so much for joining us on the Saturday Night Club and the match preview show and the quiz as well, where Neil does take the crown today. Someone does need to come on and knock him off as well. And, maybe that will come in the next few weeks. But Drew, very, very well played today. You did extremely well on the quiz. So very, very well done to you too. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Massive, massive game tomorrow. Even though we are underplaying Luton, there's no games that can be underplayed in the Premier League. Thank you all for joining us and spending your Saturday night with us. We are LFC Transferring. Give us a like and a subscribe. But until next time, we'll see you down the road after another 3 points, hopefully, for Liverpool Football Club. Take care. Peace. Bye-bye.